Welcome to the inner world of filmmaking. I'm your host, Tammy Magaro. I'm an editor, podcaster, and still photographer. In this show, I will interview filmmakers in all facets of production and distribution. Today, we're taking a deep dive into how to monetize your videos on YouTube with Kelsey Brennan, who is the creator of the channel and brand Premiere Gal, with over 462,000 subscribers and over 31 million views. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tammy, for having me here. I'm glad we can make the podcast work.
Yes. And first off, I just want to say I love your channel. I'm a subscriber and I find your videos very helpful. So thank you so much for creating the channel.
That's so great to hear. I mean, it's just, like the reason why I started it too is like I found a lot of help from YouTube and, I was like, got to give back to the community here. And then it just kind of evolved from that idea of like, wanting to help because I feel like the video editing community is like very much problem solving oriented, right?
Yeah. And that's my next question is what was your road into video editing?
Yeah, well, I've always, been kind of in awe of movies growing up. My aunt had this like giant library bookshelf of like VHS tapes and then like slowly DVDs, like before the streaming happened. And she had this whole book and we could like rent out the movies. And, I was always in awe of it. And I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. There was Industrial Light and Magic. There's people in the community that had worked there, like worked on the Hulk when I was growing up. And I was always kind of fascinated by, this idea of being a part of video magic.
Right.
And in high school, I was lucky enough to have in the public school, there was something called a media academy that you could apply to, basically integrate video and media with your, core curricula, like social media, social studies. Actually, probably social media should be a topic in high school these days.
Yes.
But social studies, and like political science. And we got to learn some, video editing them. And I was in love with going into the lab and just like putting together the cuts. Like I was just doing like some stuff for high school and some like silly skits, but I just loved, putting the story together. I think as editors, we're kind of writers too. And I always liked and enjoyed and felt like I was pretty good at writing. So it felt like a visual way of writing. And ever since then, it was like something I always knew that I wanted in my life, kind of.
And so what was your road? Did you go to school for video editing or film production?
So I was like, when I was in the media academy, I was working with the teachers and I was like, I think I want to like go to college or go to a specific film school. So I did apply to like Chapman in Southern California and USC and UCLA Film School. And I didn't get into those programs, but I did get into UC Santa Barbara and they had a film and media studies department. And the campus was great. The vibe there was awesome. And I didn't really know much about the department, but it was actually quite great. Very down to earth, really wonderful faculty. We got to learn about the history and, theory of film. And then we also had production classes there as well. So it ended up turning out great for me in that sense because I kind of got a general education there to kind of explore a bit. And I did, toy around with a few other things too, but it's what kind of got my interest into kind of teaching too, and inspired to learn more about what's behind necessarily just, what you see on screen, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, then how often, or let's just dive into your channel.
Sure.
What was the road to creating your YouTube channel? And then what was your strategy? I'm sure it's changed from when you began it to now.
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, when I first started, I was working full time. I was living in DC at the time, and I was a film kind of producer there, kind of doing shooting, editing, like these short, like social media videos. And when I was there, I was kind of teaching some workshops with some of my coworkers because this is during the evolution of like mobile phone cameras and everybody was starting to get into video. This was in like 2015, 2014, 2016 era. So we started to do these workshops and I don't know, I was recording some tutorials for my job and I don't know, I just kind of was like, let's try it out because I kind of always admired the idea of like working for yourself. And there had been some YouTubers at the time getting big and like that was their thing. And I was like, well, what if my thing, video editing, what if I could make it on YouTube like that? And I didn't really have that in my mind so much in the beginning. I was just kind of like, let's put the first tutorial out there. And actually, at the time, there was a guy, a Premiere Bro, BRO, and I reached out to him on Twitter and I was like, "Hey, would you ever want to post from a Premiere gal?" And he was super nice and was just like, "Yeah, like of course, like let's have a guest post." And I that's when I made my YouTube channel, Premiere Gal, and I didn't really think about it like, how am I gonna brand this? What's gonna happen? I was just like, nope, Premiere Gal, let's go. Like I'm kind of like that in everything in my life. I'm just kind of like a doer. Like I'm like, let's go for it. Sounds like a good idea. So I just, made the channel name, uploaded the video, and I think we just collaborated like a couple times. And then I just kind of loved the whole process of making the videos and kind of drifted apart from Premiere Bro, even though he had his own thing going. But yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
Wow. And then how often were you recording and publishing your shows? And I'm sure that from 2016 to now is maybe very
Oh
different, but
yeah.
what was your thoughts going into now?
What's so cool about YouTube is when things started to work or you were like, "Wow, people are actually watching this." It is kind of like addictive and like fun at the same time. It was almost kind of like a game for me to figure out like, "Oh, like what could I do to like get these views?" Because then I was like, there could be potential for a job here, potential for money here in this sector because I've seen people had success with that already. So I wasn't posting like weekly at that time. I just kind of whenever I had a spare time because, I was working full time. So there was one week where I decided to challenge myself and do 5 days of social videos. And I was up till like 3 a.m. every day that week and then waking up at 8 to go to work. And it's like that
Wow.
was sustainable for just that week. And then I was like, it's not sustainable like that all the time. So it was like a few times a month that I was uploading. And then now I upload weekly, sometimes twice weekly if we like overbook things. But sometimes I don't post in those weeks too because I'll take a break or whatnot. But I definitely just, don't have a set schedule because I found when I do that, it's the nature of creativity and finishing a project. Sometimes it just doesn't align with that unless you get really ahead. And in our kind of world, it's very difficult to get ahead because everything is kind of in the moment and you're kind of posting about current topics. So sometimes it's almost impossible to get 2 months in advance on some of the projects we're working on. Like the farthest I've gone in advance is like a month. And that's just how it is.
Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure too with that? Because it's like, oh, this is the latest thing. I got to get on it right now versus if I wait, then I'm going to.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel that at times too. And then at the same time, I'm also kind of like, okay, it's like the new thing. There's going to be a new thing next week or the next month too. So I try not to take it too seriously, but I do, of course, want to make sure that our content gets out there so it gets views in that moment. Like if Premiere Pro has a new update, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to look at the press release on that. I got to get on that to see if it's something relevant. And I used to be more like that. I used to be more like, oh, we got to get it out. But now if I'm like a week late, like I'm like, don't worry, like no big deal. And it's kind of like a learning curve that you go through, right? To kind of just have that perspective as sort of like a veteran YouTuber after you go through all of those emotions of content creation, you almost develop a certain type of maturity about it, you know what I mean? And so yeah, like for sure, like I've gone through times where like frantically trying to get stuff out on time. And now it's just more kind of like, if I need more time, I'll reach out to if I'm working with a sponsor on a video or something, I'll just be like, hey, we need a little bit more time. And more likely they're going to be like, sure, no problem. Just keep us posted. And I think the most like important thing, especially if you like work with sponsors or a team, is just communication. And once you learn how to communicate well, then everything isn't as, kind of like pressured, right?
Well, and also I was just thinking that, people are subscribed to you. So there's a lot of people that are looking for your videos. So I get what you're saying about like after a while you're not in such a rush. You just know you're going to get your audience. I kind of like, sometimes people think, "Oh my God, I have to struggle, but I think there's enough people for everybody, and that there's going to be the people that are going to gravitate more to you than to somebody else, and vice versa. So
I agree. And I think that as a viewer of somebody else, you obviously want the best for that creator, right? You don't want them just like pushing out content to push out content. You want to see them at their best. And, the coolest part that I love about this channel is I'm constantly learning new things. And even if I do, publish weekly, every single thing that I'm sharing in that video is like genuinely like, I love it. And it's so cool to like test it out, especially now with all these new tools coming out.
yeah.
AI video editing tools and all the innovation happening in video production. It's just like a never ending story of new things to talk about.
Right. Yes, exactly. So I want to dive into your process and flow from idea to
Okay.
script to recording to editing, because your videos are pretty elaborate in the editing part. Like you bring in freeze frames and different filters and stuff. So I'm just kind of curious. I know that I'm notorious for asking like 25 questions in one. So bear with me, but just
Oh, they're great
I
questions.
was just thinking, like, idea. Do you like think about the editing while you're filming, or the editing creative is more like in the editing, like just get the content? So take us through.
Sure. Yeah, it's actually interesting that you brought this up because I don't know if you follow the editing podcast with Jordan Orm and Hayden Hillier Smith, but they recently released a podcast episode where they're talking about how YouTube editors, like people that edit for creators, they're almost rather than an assistant editor, they're more like or a co-editor, they're more like a co-creator. Because if you're working with other people, you almost have to like be a part of the content creation as an editor from the beginning. So I have a few editors that are freelance. They work for other people too, but I have them edit my projects now. And it allows for a little bit more elaboration on the tutorials. Because if you watch my earlier content, it's kind of like very dry tutorial, like very detailed and like everything. And that's because I was trying to be clear. And as I've been on YouTube longer and longer, I've also realized that it's also an opportunity to have fun and to entertain as well and to show my personality. And I don't know why, but earlier I was like so like serious. I was like, gotta make sure that I follow step one, step two, like a scientific method. And I'm like so nerdy like that too. But I also have fun and like, I'm pretty outgoing. Like I was like, class clown in high school. And I was like, we need to have some more humor in this. So I like was like hunting down these video editors that I found on YouTube because I liked their style and I got them and I catch them and I was like, I really love your editing style. Can we work together? And so now what we're doing is I realize that while I do a lot of the editing, I'll think of an idea and a topic. And Anya, my partner, and I, who also works as project manager on the Premier Gal team, will come up with like topic ideas. And then I think about, the script and like kind of write out an outline of what it would be. And then kind of think about the media and the demo material that we will use in it. And then I will test the demo material and some of it doesn't make the cut because it just doesn't work out. And then the filming part is easy after all the research is done. And then I send everything to my editors on Dropbox. And I have a very global team now. I have a Swede who lives in LA. I have a Thai editor. And I have an editor that was living in LA, but she's actually in China right now. And I recently brought on somebody from Venezuela. I mean, and then I'm an American living in Europe. I'm like, this is crazy right now. So we all have this shared Dropbox account and it works great. So we just upload the media and then I still have access to the project file too. So if I need to open it up on my end and make any edits, I can do that and everything reconnects. So it's a really good, nice workflow that we have. But now that we're talking about flow, I just realized too that sometimes me coming up with the entire script myself is a lot of work too, because it's like a lot of creative mode. Like sometimes after I'm done, coming up with this, like I can't talk to anyone. Like I just need to like, you know what I mean? It's just like intense work. Like when I come to the office, I'm like here to like do my business and then go off and like have fun with my dogs too. But I'm like, like I need to have some other people that I can collaborate with. And, Anya will jump in with ideas too. But recently I was like, what if I have my editors kind of also be co-writers too
Wow.
to help me? So I just started this, and it's so funny that we're talking about this because I literally was just thinking about this past week, and I was reaching out to some of my editors, being like, "Hey, do you want to help me like do research and co-write so we can co-edit together better, you know?" And I think it would be better too for me in the long run. So to prevent burnout things from happening where you just feel like, gosh, I don't know if I can do it this week, it's just nice to know that you can have somebody else that you can work with. And I'm glad that we're at that position now that we're able to do that. Because when I was first starting out, you don't have, much funding or anything to to do that sort of thing. So I'm excited to help get them involved more with the writing side of things for sure.
Well, that leads me to a question that for editors out there working with content
Right.
creators, do you know what kind of the going rate is for charging? Like, and how do you work or how do you negotiate with a creator?
I right. I mean, I think what I do is I always reach out to them. I'm like, what is fair for you for this? And like we initially had like a just a contract per edit that they are working on. So they basically were like, this is what I'm charging. And sometimes they say per hour, but we actually just do a whole project. And if it's a tighter turnaround, I usually give a bonus for it. Because I know, they have to drop things or move things around to do it. But it's I usually leave it up to them to say, what they want to do, but there's no like standard. I mean, if you Google online, like, what should you charge as a video editor, you will see some stuff come up. And, some people who have like huge channels and put out multiple videos per week may have bigger budgets,
Right.
right? And for me, I do about, 4 videos per month, maybe 5 videos and some reels. So we kind of negotiate on what the cost would be for a reel and the actual YouTube edit. And then again, for this writing factor, I also was like, what do you think would be fair? And so we're actually going to walk through the process first, the first round, and then kind of come up with what might be fair in that case. I'm very open with them and just, want them to come to me first,
Right.
say the number, and then, I'll either accept it or, negotiate from there. So, it varies also, where you are in the world too. But generally it's pretty standard globally for stuff like this.
So how do you are working with your editors now? Do you, because you have several, so do you say, okay, you're going to do this video, you're going to do that video?
Yeah.
That's it. It's just more like
Yeah.
who's got the time, who's going to do it.
Yeah, like this month got a little bit crazy so far, but normally I try to map out my month and kind of say, okay, I have these sponsors and these topic ideas, and then I'll reach out and be like, hey, are there any blackout dates this month that nobody can take this? And then I'll assign it accordingly to those editors, basically. And I use the software called Tascade to project manage that stuff.
So I was just kind of curious now about monetization, monetizing your channel. Can you take us through the different routes you've done over the years? I mean, I know there's like Patreon, crowdfunding, merchandise stores, sponsorship, affiliate marketing, AdSense. What have you done and what have you learned and morphed over time?
Yeah. So like in the beginning, obviously not much on monetization, right? Like I made like a few dollars. And I remember actually when I first started, my partner Anya like reached out to friends and family and was like, can we get Kelsey to 100 subscribers so we can get a custom URL? Because you need to have or you had to have 100 subscribers to put like slash premiere
Right.
gal. And wow, like going back to that moment, that's crazy. And yeah, after we hit sort of like around 25K or so, that's when we started to see a little bit more and it started to get a little bit more exciting to pass that milestone. And once that happened, I started at that time previously working with software companies that have video products. I would, reach out and be like, hey, would you be interested in me having review it? And affiliate links were involved then. And that's when I discovered what affiliate marketing was. And then, some brands now actually prefer doing direct sponsorships instead of affiliate marketing instead. So in terms of monetization, we have the YouTube ad revenue that we get. We have the affiliate marketing branch, and then we have direct sponsorships. And then now we also have products that we make for ourselves. For example, we came out with the Premiere Gal Toolkit plugin. and some other templates that I was selling on my store whenever I would put together one before, which was a little bit more ad hoc. The plugin became more like, the real deal type of
Right.
thing. So it's kind of like four different categories there. And I like it because, they say for like a good business, it's like it should be like a sturdy table, like you have four legs.
Yeah.
I didn't go to business school. These are just things that I pick up on when I like watch podcasts or like talk to people. And so, yeah, we're doing pretty good here. Like, I'm pretty proud of the work that we're doing. I mean, I know that we could be doing better and better, and I'm learning because I'm not really a business person per se. I'm more of a creative person, and I've learned so much on like what works and what doesn't work throughout my YouTube career, I should say.
Well, it's good to diversify and also
Yeah.
always morph and change. You have to morph and change with the times.
Yeah.
And you brought up that you have a merchandise store. When did you start creating products? Like, when did you say,
Yeah.
I should do this?
Products. Yeah, well, I was kind of like, I'm always kind of like had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit. And, because I am supporting myself and, our family too. And it's important, we got to figure out how to be smart about making sure that we have money
Right.
to be able to live. For me, I was just kind of like at first I was like, what if I come up with this like template and like this was like I think the first one was a text message template, and I know a lot of my audience is based in India, and then another large portion is the number one is US, and then it's India, and then Canada, Indonesia. And a lot of times some products are too expensive. And I wanted to create a product that was like super cheap to see if I could get a bunch of people interested in getting it. And I set it at like 99 cents or something like that. And this one like got so many downloads. It was crazy. And just doing that test, I was like, okay, this was just testing the waters a little bit. And so then I started to think about different pricing structures, and now I think I have it at like 19.99 for like a slideshow template, so photo slideshow template for creators. So I have a bunch on my store, and it's just a Squarespace store. Like it's nothing fancy. I host my website on Squarespace, and they make it pretty easy to just set up a store. So I didn't have to like think too much outside of that, which was nice. And I think in the beginning it was like, like $500 a month or something like that, not much at all. And now on my store itself, it's still not that much. I think it's like 2,500 per month or something like that, or a little bit less. And then the plugin that we did, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about stats or stuff. And I know
Yeah.
some people don't like to talk about money, but when we did our first launch of the toolkit, I think in the first week we did about 10K in sales, which was very exciting. And then it's not that much every week, and it's certainly not that much right now per month. I think it was just like 5K last month or something like that. So it varies and ebbs and flows, but it's still something, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's
It's pretty good.
amazing. Yeah, I was looking at all your store products and stuff, and I was like, oh, like one-offs to the big toolkit. So that was really cool. And also, but you just never know, and it must be nice because it's passive income now. So
Yeah, that's exactly the term I was thinking of. I was like, yeah. So basically, I heard on a podcast once, there was like, if you want to have success, or if you want to like know that like things are good in your business, you want to be making money when you go to bed and you're
right.
sleeping. And I was like, that's such an interesting concept. That's crazy. How can I make money when I'm sleeping? So affiliate marketing, obviously you still have to keep working with affiliate marketing. It's not actually passive income because you're always working. It's just things that you did in the past that you worked for, you're still making money off of presently. So yeah, exactly.
Do you want to talk about affiliate marketing for people who may not know what that means and how you use it?
Yeah. So, sorry, affiliate marketing,
Right.
right? So, okay. So essentially, affiliate marketing is if you're an affiliate for a company, you are basically kind of an ambassador of that company and you earn a commission per sale that you refer. So if Tammy had a product and was like, hey, Premier Gal, like, I just launched this new tripod. Like, I want to give you 20% per sale that you refer. So basically, if somebody uses my link to get Tammy's new tripod, I'll earn 20% of that sale. And sometimes it can go really well. And I think when I was looking quarterly, like I think affiliate is one of like the top earners. And while we don't refer a lot of physical products so much on our channel, sometimes we do. Like we have some like tripod kits that we promote. A lot of it is software based or like marketplaces and toolkits and things like that. So every niche, what if you're in video editing or any niche, has affiliate marketing. So if you're like a food guru, you could refer people to a spatula and make a commission from it, right?
Right.
You can really become an affiliate of anything now. And it does work if you do it right. You can have a lot of success with it.
Right. And do you use it? Because I have affiliate marketing for Amazon. So like if somebody mentions something,
Right.
I'll put an affiliate link in my, do you use that as well, or you don't really need to do that?
Yeah, I'm an affiliate for Amazon and B&H. I don't make a ton of
Yeah.
money from it. Like really, I don't push it that much at all. I think we made like I think the most one month was like $200 at the most, and sometimes we just make like $30 or $40 per month because we don't really do much promotion
Right.
of it. But if you do it right, some of our affiliate programs we make, close to almost 5,000 per month because we push it all the time. The thing with affiliate marketing, you have to be consistent and you have to remind people about that, you know. So you can find success with it, but again, it's really about putting in that work, being smart about how you're going to integrate it into your work because you don't want to be too salesy either.
Right.
You want to also, provide value to your audience. But I think audiences know now too that, this is the people's full-time job, and just like any event, there's sponsors, right, to help make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that, we have these sponsors that work with us and we're able to produce this content because otherwise it would really be hard to do what we do.
Right. Now, talking about sponsorship, at the beginning, did you reach out to them? Is it now that they're reaching out to you? And then could you just talk a little bit about products? There's discounts on services. There's a lot of different levels you could use a sponsor. And then how do you evaluate the rate? If somebody goes, how much should we pay you to do this?
Right. Yeah, it's also one of those things where there's no standard for it either. It's so crazy. Uh, Basically, yes, in the beginning, I reached out to answer your first question because I was a nobody. Nobody knew who Premier Gal was. And then slowly but surely, when I started to gain more influence and it started to become more popular to have sponsorships, I was like, hey, can we do a paid review here for this? And we negotiated a fee, and I was not good at it at the beginning at all. It's awkward for me to ask for money. Anya, project manager on the team, is super good at it, and I've learned a lot from her on how to you know, show your value and show your worth. And you usually ask for just a little bit more than you're expecting. And sometimes, especially later on when we were like super busy, we're like, okay, we're just going to say this amount and they're probably not going to accept it because it's just too high. And then they accepted it. And then I was like, crap, we have to do it. you know? But it was, of course, I'm not like saying it like I'm like honored to have these opportunities, but it was just one of those times where it's like super crazy. And when the demand is high, you can charge more. And right now, the demand is so high. We are fully booked the entire year. We're already booking 2024 spots. And sometimes that's also bad because a lot of sponsors will reach out like 3 weeks before and be like, hey, can you get this video out? And I'm like, I'm already booked, but I really want to work together. And sometimes we have to like create openings on a case by case basis. But now it's just like, I mean, Tammy, it's out of control. I mean, there's so many emails that I haven't been able to get to. And it's exciting that there's so much out there. And I'm just like, there's so much opportunity in this field, even though it's so niche. So, I mean, for anybody that's watching here that's considering a YouTube channel, I mean, on any topic, there's just so much out there in this world. It's crazy.
Yeah. And do you have any tips for people that are wanting to create the channel? Like what to do?
Yeah, I think that you need to like establish like a value with your audience, like a shared value of like, for me, it's kind of like, you know, learning is fun, better done than perfect. Like, try out this new thing, you'll get better at it. Um, and, you can do anything kind of vibe that I have going on. And if you kind of have that personality come through, and if you are passionate about what you're talking about, people are going to watch it. So, no matter what it is, if you genuinely enjoy that topic, people are going to see that and they're going to know that they're watching somebody that's like doing what they love in this life. So if your passion is, I don't know,
Basket weaving.
gears, basket weaving, and you just have some nice music playing and you're just weaving your basket and you're I really think that anything I love to watch anybody talk about something that they're entertaining and passionate about. So as long as you have that, and that's what I had, you can do anything that you want with that. And you just have to be determined to imagine where you see yourself being. And you kind of, I really do believe in manifestation and things like that. And you're like, yo, you want to do that? I was like, oh gosh, I really want to create a physical product. Then we came out with a keyboard and it's coming out very soon. And it's just like, you just kind of like put in the work and just imagine those things in the future. So that's kind of my advice, really. I know it's not concrete, but it's kind of cheesy, but it's kind of true too, right?
No, I think it's absolutely true, because if you're not passionate about what you're talking about, because you have to talk about that thing over time. It's not like, and you have to also pick a topic that you have a lot of different videos to do, because if it's very limited, I mean, it's got to go longevity. And then would you agree to consistency, like weekly videos, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think consistency is good. Even if you post once a month and it's like a really nice video that kind of goes into that topic, that's still successful on YouTube. Like, I see some big YouTubers who are getting a lot of views on just that one video and they post once a month. And they might, have a podcast too, or do other things on top of that, especially if like you're a filmmaker and you just post on your YouTube channel once a month. Like, that's a very sustainable structure. But if you're just doing YouTube, then once a week, I think is a good model to have, because you're generating that income, the algorithm is happy, and you're just kind of, everything's going around. But if you're doing other things, once a week is a lot of work too. So if you're working full time or have another job, posting once a week, I would think that I would probably go a little crazy. I wouldn't have enough time. So it really depends on your setup and what you're doing in your life. And if you need to dedicate part time to something else, it might be difficult to push it out one week. It might be draining over time. You know what I mean?
And also, I think you alluded to putting on other channels as well, like you said, if you have a podcast and stuff. But what is it? I was going to say, taking the bigger piece and making it smaller pieces, like shorts, reels, and you
Right.
could put markers in your video as you're editing to go, I want to take this, so that you're not having to rethink it after.
Right. Yeah. Like, so for reels, I will have sometimes the editors do like a short version of an edit. And in those cases, if they've edited the video, they know it very well. And right now, because we've worked together for over a year plus, I'm like, hey, like, can you make a 60 to 90-second short version of this video? And I don't really give much direction. Maybe if they have a question or two, I can answer it, because I know, because we kind of gel in that way now. But in the beginning, I would be like, kind of hand, what is it, handhold a little bit
Yeah.
more to try to make sure they understand what I want. But now it's gone to that point where they just kind of get it, and I expect them to get it now.
Okay. On that note, when did this channel become a full-time gig for you? And then when did you start hiring the assistants or other editors?
Yes. So I realized after, I think it was in 2018, that when I was editing the videos myself, it wasn't sustainable for me, because I would like make a video and I didn't really have a schedule. I probably could have planned it out better. But let's say that a sponsor was in that video, I was supposed to get it out the next day, I would be up late editing, and it just wasn't good for my health at that time. And that's when I was kind of like, maybe it's time to maybe get some help. And I know it's very difficult because you have your own style, it's your own videos that you're working with. So I worked with one editor at a time, in 2019. No, it was 2020. So the year of COVID happened. Basically, I reached out to Kristen. I don't know how we got connected. I forget. It was maybe be a mutual friend or something like that. I can't remember. But we started working together, and then we parted ways because she had other projects and work that she was dealing with. And then, I just kind of put feelers out there and found some other editors to help out. And as because I don't hire them full time because, I can't afford to have them full time, I realized that it's good to have backups, just in case. So I was lucky to find a couple other editors who have a similar style. And basically, I just kind of rotate them on the projects right now. I'm not sure if I think I lost the original question that you asked me, but yeah, it was about 2018 when I was like, okay, I think I need it, but I didn't do it then. And then finally, after 2 years later, I was like, okay, we found somebody. Let's try it out. It definitely helped a lot, but it took some adapting because I had to plan in advance more. Because before that, I was just ad hoc. I'd be like, oh, I can film it this week because I'm editing it and I control the edit. And then I was like, Kelsey, you don't control the editing anymore. You need to give people more time. So now I'm like, it is also a little bit stressful in the beginning too, because it's having to adapt to that. Because I was like, oh gosh, if I don't get it done today, then we won't get the deadline done. So sometimes it is some pressure points, but at the end of the day, it's still so much nicer to have somebody else, take that edit, and I can just be kind of like the assistant editor leaving comments and giving feedback.
Now, do you always have the final say before it gets posted? Do you watch it?
Yes, absolutely. So we use Frame.io. We also use another platform called Whipster. Because Frame.io just has one collaborator on their free plan. So I have another free plan with Whipster too that we use. And we use Slack, and the comments go directly to our Slack channel. And I'll leave feedback, and then they'll resend it to me. And usually the second version is like good to go. But if it's like a short deadline and there's some more edits, then I'll open up the project and make those final edits myself.
Okay. And then just for those people that are ready to hire somebody else to help them out, what are some tips that you would recommend? Because I know that there's a process. I get that when you're an editor and you do your stuff, it's sometimes hard to let it go to somebody else. How long did it take to get the person in sync, and what tips would you give somebody?
Oh, I think it usually just takes a couple projects for us to get into sync, to be honest. And I would say, if you are scripted, it's nice in the beginning to, with your script, to kind of leave annotations on like what you were thinking that time. So I would like highlight sections, say, I was thinking we could do this here. But of course, I always said, always tell them, but I also want you to have your own personal touch here too. Because, I know how it is to be a creator, and I have an editor, not a creator. You want to, yeah, both. I know what it's like to get into the timeline and like, get excited with that edit. So I was like, I don't want to restrict you, but this is what I was imagining for this. And then this kind of style emerged where we had the circle in the lower right corner when I'm like showing how to do the screen recording. And we started to leave in more bits. Like I'm like, hey, if I say something funny, like have a cowbell sound effect, or like have it zoom into my face. And we started to do more comedic edits. And I have seen some comments on my YouTube channels from people who are like, you should stop the funny comments. It's not necessary, and it's a bad look. It's hard to see those comments because it's like, I want this to be like fun, and then I have these like Debbie Downer comments that are like, slow down, like what are you doing, like it's crazy. I can't focus. And I understand sometimes, but it's like, I don't think it's that crazy, is it? I'm not like rapid, like, so I don't know. There's a pause button, there's a rewind button if you need to review something. But at the end of the day, while I am making it for the audience and I want it to be entertaining and fun, I also am doing it for us too. Because if you're not enjoying the process, then kind of what's the point of doing it either, you
Right.
know?
No, I totally agree. And you're not going to please everybody. And you just hope that what you're doing is that your audience likes it, you know?
And some people aren't, and you can't please everybody, and I get that, and that's the problem that I had in the beginning when I was first starting is like trying to be the people pleaser, and it's easier said than done because you can get like thousands of great, amazing comments, and then you get like five negative comments, and those hurt,
Yeah.
like they really do. It's hard to just ignore them. Well, they're there, and I actually had one person email me recently, and they were like, "Are you filtering my comments? Why are you blocking my comments? If you don't unblock my comments, I'm gonna unsubscribe for you and I'm not gonna get your keyboard." And I was like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not censoring anything." And I actually have, like most YouTubers, I have a filter on for like really bad curse words and stuff like that, like most YouTubers do, because they don't want garbage in their comment section. So I don't know what happened with this guy. Honestly, wish him the best and I hope everything's okay. But, I understand like we're all humans and like some people, you know, I don't know what's going on in their lives, but some people have some stuff going on.
Right. Though on the flip side of that, I still think, well, it is your channel and you have the right to do whatever you want to do. And if you're not going to buy because of that, then maybe I'm not your gal.
Yeah.
And let's switch over to you also have workshops. You're now teaching courses, educational courses and subscriptions. So do you want to talk about what made you decide, you know what, I think I'm going to start teaching courses now?
Right. So I think I wanted to make a full course, and it's one of those things where it really takes a lot of time to do it. So I started toying around with the idea of doing live workshops instead because actually it was presented to me as an opportunity. So this company, Superpeer, reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, we're a startup and we are creating a way for creators to monetize on our platform by hosting live streams and workshops, and people either donate or subscribe to attend those workshops, or they can register for a one-time fee." And, I was like, why not? Let's like give it a go and see how it goes. And, I do enjoy those workshops. I think it's fine. Sometimes I feel like it is an extra thing added on. And do I necessarily need to do it? Not necessarily, but for me, it's just kind of a nicer way to like in the moment live communicate with the subscribers and viewers in a different way and get a little bit deeper on the projects that they're working on, which is something that we don't really get on YouTube. So I'm always trying new ways to develop that relationship as a content creator and also as a mentor and a teacher as well. I kind of see myself as an educator. At least I hope so.
Yeah,
That's what you guys
definitely.
get from it. And I also do Creator Now workshops. Creator Now reached out and I do twice per month on their platform, more geared towards YouTubers who are trying to grow on YouTube. So a lot of the workshops that I do there are more geared towards like how to use this tool technically to improve your edits on YouTube, for example. The last workshop that I did, which was actually yesterday, was on how to use AI animation in creative ways to spice up your edit. So it just helps get the wheels turning up here. And I hope that it helps inspire. And it's also nice because the Creator Now community is so nice and they have like a ton of people attending and like the comments are really positive. It's a closed community. It's not like live stream on YouTube because they pay, essentially to improve and grow their YouTube channel. That's kind of the base of Creator Now and how it works. And it's just a really nice community. So I really enjoy my workshops there.
Wow. Well, yeah. And I was just thinking, God, that would be great from start to finish of a channel. And I'm going to take you through the flow and process of how I started coming up with ideas, how to edit, how to hire. My God, you've got a lot of things you could do. I'm just,
There's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I want to write, if anything, I'm planning on doing some sort of ebook kind of course where it kind of details, like how to work with freelancers, how to use AI. Like there's a lot of different things that I have working up here. It's just about finding the time to get it done. And yeah, there's so much that I'd like to share in a different form, I think.
well, I guess it just, you just know that your channel only has upwards to grow because there's always a plethora of information and different ways you can navigate that, through your channel and your brand.
Yeah, for sure. And like I think the hardest part too is also trying to keep that consistency and fire alive too. I know that I said that there's still so many new topics here, but I also find that trying to adapt your style when you have a brand and you have a set uh topic and a style, you kind of have to stick to it for it to kind of do well on the platform. And so for me, if I want to like do more like short form, like I don't know, fictional fun stuff, like I would almost need to create another channel for that. You know what I mean? I even had a thought of this to like come up, but it's like, where would I find the time to do it and stuff like that? And it's like it you evolve as a human and you want to try new things naturally, I think. So for myself, I'm kind of like, does that make sense right now? I'm not sure. Maybe I should wait a little bit, but I definitely had this desire recently to kind of do some more like fun effects where I'm just like not even talking and it's just like music and like almost like a silent film type of thing. And it wouldn't fit for Premiere Gal because people be like, what's kind of going on here? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
some people be like, what? This is not what I was expecting. So that's the hardest part on YouTube is like if you change, you kind of have to communicate that with your audience, especially if you have like a niche YouTube channel. Because if you start posting Minecraft videos on a Premiere Gal YouTube channel, like that's not possible, right? But if you're like an influencer, like just your name and like you've always kind of done different things, you can always communicate and grow and evolve. I've seen lots of YouTubers that have been on the platform for 10 plus years and their content has changed drastically over the years from doing like food reviews to like haunted house mystery stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. But for myself, I think, you just kind of have to like go with the flow and, trust your instinct and your gut and your passion, like I was talking about before. And and if it makes you happy, keep doing it.
Right. Yeah. And I guess like what you were just saying, like to have to build another channel could also be a little daunting, like, and also that you'd have to be consistent. It's hard when you are the brand.
Yeah, I know some people have been talking about faceless YouTube channels because you're not actually on camera. And some people just use the voice for that and they just do some cool, very, very, effects heavy type of editing. But it is a thing now. And you don't have to show your face, but I think there has to be a consistent voice. And there is like AI apps now that can actually have a fake voice for you, which is crazy, and voice
Right.
cloning. So if you don't want to actually have to read it, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, in my case, it's kind of like I decided to put my face on there and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, in order to keep it going, I also have to be the one on camera unless we start to introduce other people on camera, which I've seen other YouTubers do. For example, Olufemi, which is also a video editing channel. Olufemi Josh, he kind of created it as a collective now. So he has 3 other people doing tutorials because he also does like, he's like a director. He like directs music videos and stuff. So I don't know how he was doing it like, full time before on his own. So I think he did a smart move there to kind of expand it. But I hope that through my process of introducing these writers, co-writing stuff that it can kind of become less producing and intensive on myself. And we'll see where it goes. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Tammy.
I was thinking that you really would just have to let go of a lot more stuff, like where maybe somebody's writing your content, you just come in, you film so that you could be freed to do other creative
Right.
stuff, which is it's just challenging because when
Right.
you love what you do, it's sometimes hard to remove
Right.
yourself from things that you enjoy doing, you know?
Right. It depends on what's going on in your life and if you need that change. I think right now I'm good with what I'm doing. Like, I mean, I like to say if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if something's
Yeah.
broken, like, then maybe you should change it and fix it a little bit to make it, to tweak it, to make it, run the engine a little bit better. Because we all need to have those breaks. And if you can't take a break because you're the one constantly producing, then that's a problem,
That could
right?
create burnout pretty quick. Um,
Yeah.
s- are there any
Absolutely.
projects you're working on now that you'd like to talk or just let everybody know?
Yeah, so right now we just launched a new update to the Premier Gal Toolkit, which
Yes.
is awesome. So that's available. And there's a few other ones that we're working on, like tips on how to spice up your edits. So rather than just doing like a tutorial on how to do a particular effect, we'll kind of break down like multiple effects in one video. And gosh, I'm like blanking right now that you asked me. Also for Creator Now, I gave some homework to the students to basically integrate 10 seconds of AI animation into their next YouTube edit, which is exciting. So I'm going to be reviewing what they've come up with at the end of this month. So I'm excited to see what the students have come up with. And yeah, that's I really live week to week right now. And also having fun too. Like I'm not just working all the time. Like I'm going to Harry Styles concert in July. I'm going to see Pink in July, going on vacation. I'm actually going to California to visit family in September. So yeah, there's like so many cool things happening. I'm not just Premiere Gala at a computer all the time. So yeah, it's important to have that balance. I think I learned early on when I was in DC because people when I was living in DC, like their work kind of became their life at some point, and because it's so people are so passionate there about politics and NGOs. And this one gal who was working at the Washington Post, and she's a little bit older than me, about by like 10 or 12 years. She said to me and like a group of people, just like, don't let work become your life. And that stuck with me till today. And I'm always reminding myself, like, it's not the most important thing, like you need to find that balance in your life. It's very
I
important.
love that. That's a good ender. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Kelsey. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. This is a good conversation.
Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to get out there and make a film. Reach out to your local filmmakers group to get involved and connect. Please subscribe to the show if you like it, and follow me on Instagram at Tammy Magiro. Until we meet again, what's your story?